Welcome to Blue by 90. On this episode, we talk about some Michigan news about basketball and football. Then we came up with a new format with each corresponding down corresponding to a new topic. So first down, second down, third down, and so forth. So first down, we talk about what sports moment made you fall in love with sports. Then second down, a recruiting violations mentioned in the Dan Patrick Show. Third down, should Nico Collins wear number 1? Fourth down, name ideas for Harbaugh's Restaurant. Make sure to stay tuned for 0 to 90. Thanks, and enjoy the show.
This is the University of Michigan.
Touchdown, Michigan!
And midcourt, extra pass.
And it goes for the win! The three-pointer by Jordan Poole!
Down the sideline! Peoples-Jones! Touchdown, Wolverines!
Welcome to Blue by 90, your Michigan Wolverines podcast. We are three dudes who talk maize and blue. I'm Kalen, joined by Ro and Jack. Guys, how we doing?
Doing great, sir. How are you?
Awesome.
Doing pretty well over here.
Sweet. I'm glad to see everyone's got their mics set up, working. You both sound great. This might be a first, so I'm glad to see it, guys.
It's a first. I stole Heather's laptop. Got the headphones plugged into the mic. Now it all is good, so I just have to be able to steal it every time. I'm just going to start hiding it from her.
I've got a new mic. I think people might have seen it last week, but it's golden. I feel like it's a trophy almost. Not that we've won any awards or will ever win any awards, but if we never win anything, this is what we have, folks.
What a power move.
Honestly, buying a trophy before you ever even record a podcast. I mean, come on now.
Well, I was gonna say last episode he's like, yeah, I'm carrying the podcast, and now I got a gold microphone trophy. What an asshole.
All of a sudden, I go without being read 2 weeks in a row, and my ego is like, I can't fit my head through the door.
Oh, man. Well, I'm glad to have you guys on. You see any kind of just loose sports news here? I mean, MLB coming back, NBA coming back. I saw a little bit of stuff floating around out there. You guys know any more?
NBA, right? July 22nd? Does that sound right?
Something around there, I think. I feel like we're getting close. That's almost a month away still, but I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on with those players too. It seems like Kyrie Irving doesn't want to play. There's, some guys with him. Some guys are like, why is he talking for us? I don't know. It seems like with the professional athletes, like these guys, obviously they speak for themselves, and with the agents and everything, it's different than college athletics. But still, I think it's going to be difficult, even with these guys quarantined essentially at Disney World. It's just going to be so difficult with, what happens if people test positive, things, all things of that nature.
Well, I was going to say at least they can worry about that. I feel like the MLB is just a mess. Like they can't figure anything out. Like people, apparently, like the owners aren't agreeing with what the players want and whatnot. Like I don't think there's going to be a season, man.
Yeah, I heard something about 48 games, but then I heard something with Mike Trout going like, I'm not playing if I can't be by my family because I just had a new kid. All kinds of stuff going on. So I'm like, I'm with you, Jack. I'm like, I have no idea if this is even going to come to fruition.
Which to me is crazy because if they would have started the season a month ago, that's all anybody would have been watching, all quarantine, right? Like, everyone would have been gambling on MLB. It would have been on every single night. Like they could have owned this 3-month stretch here, which never happens. And so I don't understand. Like there's got to be something behind the scenes with these owners and the MLBPA and the players. I think they hate each other. That's at least what it looks like on the surface. And it seems like a lot of the owners just don't care if there's a season or not, which I understand they're billionaires and they have other businesses and stuff, but come on, man, you got to be interested in something you own.
Yeah, you would think so, but evidently they can't get it together, or they're trying to get it together. So
We
just
just
want to
want
see
sports.
Yeah, I just want to see some sports. Can we do something, please?
Just want to watch sports and drink beer. Now that bars are open, I can sit down and watch some replays. That's the next thing. That's all I need. Live sports.
It is kind of weird to go to a bar and there's nothing on TV. Like most of the bars that I go to are sports bars, right? And like the other night, I think Jacqueline and I went to a bar and we were watching like the 2004 home run derby. And I'm like, and we were very interested still just because we're so thirsty for sports at this point. But I'm like, if literally anything else was on, we'd be watching it. But it is it's like just weird to go to a bar without a game on because there usually is just always something on.
Yeah, someone was telling me to watch Korean baseball or something.
They got stuffed animals in the stands, man. I swear, they've got like the stadiums are packed with stuffed animals. It's insane.
Hey, Dixon Machado is one of like the top players in that Korean baseball league. He used to be a prospect for the Tigers. So, I mean, there's some names over there, but that's how thirsty people were for sports. Like, just let me bet on one single game. It can be Korean baseball or cricket. I don't even care. Just give me something.
All right, well, let's move on to some Michigan news, right? Actually, a fair amount of Michigan news happened in this past couple weeks. I'm going to maybe butcher the name here. Nogel Eastern. I think that's his name. Noel? Nogel?
I would say Noel because maybe it's a silent J. I have no idea, but we'll roll with it. Eastern. Mr. Eastern. Mr. Eastern. I like that. That's classy.
Ro, tell us a little bit about the situation with Mr. Eastern.
Well, it sounds like so the University of Michigan, he basically, what was it, 3 weeks ago, he kind of just announced on his own that he was transferring from Purdue to Michigan. And there was no announcement from Michigan, any social media, anything like that. No announcement from Michigan, no acknowledgement of it. Everyone was very excited. He was a solid player for Purdue, great defender, not that great on offense, but He was an NBA prospect. He was in the draft at one point and then pulled back and went back to Purdue last year. But it sounds like a lot of his credits didn't transfer from Purdue to Michigan, so he wasn't accepted. I saw something like he needed like 49 of his 82 credits that he had gotten at Purdue. That's all that transferred, and so he was gonna have to make up 24 credits by November in order for him to play, which is nearly impossible, right? They don't even have classes going, so I don't know how that would work. And so it's a weird situation. I think that it sounds like we might have dodged a bullet maybe because him and his mom are a little off the charts. And so it's just kind of odd for somebody to announce a transfer and then for this all to happen. But that was kind of the summation of what went on here.
That's interesting, especially because, during a transfer, my understanding is that like they have compliance officers and things like that are supposed to negotiate those credits. So it kind of sounds like someone dropped the ball.
Yeah, I think that from what I've heard is that JaJuan did everything he could to get this guy into Michigan. And then it was something about his major. Michigan doesn't have the major that he was pursuing at Purdue. So that's why he struggled to get those credits in. But from the sounds of it, the person that dropped the ball was himself. He just kind of came in and announced. And although Michigan would love to have him, JaJuan would love to have him, there's still an academic part to being a student athlete. And so he didn't fulfill those requirements. And unfortunately, that's his hands are tied. I did hear that Schlissel was in on it the whole time, kind of, working with them, trying to figure it out. But the academic integrity of the University of Michigan is pretty high. I think we all know that. And so they don't just there are some schools out there that'll let anybody in, right? Not to name names or anybody or anything like that. But yeah, I think that Michigan held up their integrity to make sure that they, have that standard for their student athletes.
Yeah, that's a great point. That being said, I mean, we hope Mr. Eastern finds a great place to land, right? But moving on in topics, still in regards to basketball, it looked like they finally announced some of the numbers for the freshmen, correct?
Yeah,
Yep.
Jack, what do you think about that?
I love it. I mean, obviously everybody wants to know. I mean, that's kind of like there's nothing going on. Might as well figure out who's got what number, right? So they've got Hunter Dickinson's wearing number 1. Big guy getting number 1. I like that.
I love that a lot.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Jace Howard's wearing number 10. I know I told you guys I think it'd be cool if he wore number 25, just like his dad did, but maybe that means Jet Howard could be coming to Michigan. He'll get number 25. Total speculation, but that'd be great. Zeb Jackson, I think he's sticking with number 3. I think that's what he had in high school. And Terrence Williams, I believe the same thing. He's number 5, which I believe he had in high school. And then Adrian Nunez switched to number 0. So DeJulius left. Number 0 was available, and Nunez took that. And then Mike Smith, who transferred from Columbia, he'll wear number 12. A very interesting part of this whole situation, like we kind of talked about with Mr. Eastern, they didn't announce a number for Chaundi Brown. Another thing, like they never announced his official transfer to Michigan. You know, it's kind of like he came out and said he was coming. So no number announcement for him, which is interesting.
That is interesting. I have no idea what to make of it.
Yeah, I know. I have nothing to make of it, but I thought that was an interesting thing. Like maybe, you know, hopefully the same thing doesn't happen to him, which I don't think it will. 'Cause he's a grad transfer. He's not straight up transferring. But I just thought that was something to point out. Do you guys like those numbers?
I love 5. Jalen Rose, right? So 5 for Terrence Williams, pretty dope. And then number 3 for Zeb Jackson. Let's keep the number 3 train going for stud point guards at the University of Michigan, right? We've had how many in a row? I know Derek Walton was in there as well, but you know, Trey Burke and Xavier Simpson, absolute studs for us. And so going to keep that train rolling. I'm wondering though, like, does that number get retired at some point? I mean, I don't know. Trey Burke was National Player of the Year. Xavier Simpson, you know, had a great career. I kind of thought that they might stop using it so that they could maybe retire it, but it sounds like they won't. So maybe they will in the future at some point. But also, Jalen Rose's number 5 is not retired either. And we talked about the Fab 5 banners last week too, but still kind of just like interesting things there with some history in those numbers.
Honestly, I kind of would have liked to see Zeb Jackson wear number 5. Kind of similar build to Jalen Rose when he was in college, lefty. I thought that could have been cool. I just thought of that right now, but I think that could have been nice.
I do love number 1 on the big boy, 7'2" Hunter Dickinson. Like, he's gonna look gigantic in that uniform with just his. Thankfully, he has a long last name because the names on the Jordan jerseys are small, but the number 1 on there is gonna look pretty interesting.
Dude, the number 1 is gonna be like massive.
Honestly,
that's what I love about that group of numbers. Okay, but moving on a little bit here. I saw some news about some football players contracting coronavirus. Or maybe we should clean this up. 2 football players tested positive, but were asymptomatic. Does that sound right?
Yep.
So what does that mean for our program?
I mean, honestly, I feel like we all kind of expected people were going to test positive when they came back, but 2 out of 221, I think was the number. That's great. As long as we can keep it there and we isolate those people away from everybody else until they're, you know, cleaned up. But yeah, I mean, we saw 5 at Oklahoma State or Alabama or wherever it was. I think we're going to see it all over the country when the students come back. But 2 out of 220, that's less than 1%.
yeah, I think so. I think the number that the University of Texas had was like they have 15 guys quarantined right now. So I think we're in good shape, and with them being asymptomatic too, this was, in my mind, really good news. Honestly, I think, like you said, Jack, with 221 guys coming back from all over the country and the world, I would have expected more, just because, I feel like a lot of people have had it that have been asymptomatic. So I think this was good news for the University of Michigan, especially just the football players. And it sounded like they handled it really well as far as Ward Manuel and President Schlissel. He said that they weren't going to quarantine these people. There are these players in a hotel room like some other places did. I think Ohio State might have said that they were going to quarantine their guys in a hotel room, like all football players, just to keep them separate. So I think they want to keep them as much as normal students as possible, which I think is good. Although, you never know what's going to happen when, if things start spreading. But I think all in all, it's good news.
Right. So let's hope that the numbers don't increase and in fact they decrease so that we can, get down to it. I think practices can start too. Is that right? Next week?
Yeah. Yep. I think voluntary workouts started this week actually.
Okay.
And then they're going to keep progressing to more and more as we go.
Okay. All right. Well, what do you guys say we get down to our main topics here? We kind of are looking at a different format here where we just do each topic as if it was like a down on a football field. So first, second, third, fourth, and we'll just go through our topics. Does that sound good?
Great.
Yep.
All right. Awesome. So our first down topic, what sports moment made you fall in love with sports? That's a big question. Ro, it sounds like you've been thinking about this because this is your contribution here. So what do you got?
Yeah, I had a conversation while I was back home with my dad the other day, and his moment was he actually went to the 1984 World Series, Game 5, when the Tigers won the World Series. So he ran on the field like there was riots in the street. It was craziness. I wouldn't say that's when he fell in love with sports, but he was just talking about how iconic of a moment that was for him in his lifetime for sports. So it got me to thinking, like, what made me fall in love with sports? And I actually called him today and started talking about some of the stuff we, experienced together. And the big one, kind of really where I started it is high school football. I was the ball boy when I was little for our high school football team. Not when I was in high school, when I was younger than
That's what
high
I thought
school.
you were gonna say, and I was trying not to laugh. I was like, it's okay.
All right.
Not everybody's that
All right.
athletic. It's fine.
No, when I was a little kid, not in high school yet, I was the ball boy for our high school football team. That reminds me of what's their quote? They're like, "Yeah, remember when we played JV basketball? Yeah, senior year."
Yeah. What is that? That's from what movie is that? Oh my god!
It's
But yes, I
Jason
know what you're talking
Sudeikis,
about.
right? Yeah. I can't remember which one it is. Crap. But all right.
Rose in high school getting out of his race car bed, going to be a ball boy for the football team.
We really set me up here to look like a giant loser. This is unfair. It's really unfair.
Quality content here. Anyway, when you were a ball boy in high school.
All right. Reel it back in. All right. When I was a ball boy in high school,
I don't have this marked off either. We got to leave this in.
Oh my god.
Oh, man.
All right. I was a ball boy for the high school football team at Hudsonville High School while I was younger than in high school. And we went to the state finals that year. And I just remember like that was like I had played football when I was, all throughout. I think I started playing football in 3rd grade, but that was when I was like, I mean, those guys, they might as well have been on ESPN and like in the NFL, to me at that point. And so I was just like in the huddle, like on the sideline. It was unbelievable. And to go like to Ford Field, we went to Ford Field, played on that field. Like it was a giant stadium, all those fans. It was unbelievable. Like that's when I really fell in love with like just the camaraderie of sports and the competitiveness and all that stuff. And I know you guys played high school sports too, so you felt it as well. So that was really the back in the day. I was trying to think of a moment like a big sports moment. And I think going back to like the 2004 Pistons too. Like those teams when Ben Wallace, Rasheed Wallace, Tayshaun, Chauncey Billups, Rip Hamilton, like in those, like they had the attitude, not really of the bad boys, but kind of, where it was like all defense. They were anti really the rest of the NBA. It was them against Kobe and Shaq on the Lakers. Like those teams where it was just like, I'm gonna like get in your face and beat you like right in your face, made me so hyped and so pumped up, and like just made me want to go out there and compete myself.
Yeah, and I'm with you as far as, I mean, obviously when you said you were a ball boy when you were younger, watching the high school team play that you ended up, I'm assuming you ended up going to that high school, right? You played there.
Yep.
So I'm sure Kalen remembers this, but Zach Putnam, he was a big star at Pioneer, and me and my dad would go watch him play at Pioneer, and it was like, I would rather go to that than watch like a Tigers game or something. Like Zach Putnam was just like such an idol to me. It was like a really cool pitcher and athlete, just all around great baseball player to watch, and he was in my hometown, so that was really cool. But I think for me, and honestly, I don't really feel this way about baseball now, but they always used to have the Cubs on WGN, always had the Braves on TBS, always had the Tigers on Fox Sports Detroit. And that was when the Braves had Maddox and Glavine and Smoltz, and the Cubs were just, Sammy Sosa was on the Cubs, and, all that. And then, the big names that were on those teams, and it was just something that my dad and I were able to bond over, and we just watched baseball all day long. And, but yeah, I can't really bring it back to one single moment, but it was definitely the early 2000s, once I really understood kind of what was going on, where I was just like, man, this is just, I don't know how I'd be able to live a life without sports, which we're doing right now, which is crazy. But yeah, and I know Kalen's got some interesting stuff about just like when Detroit sports were great, so I'll let you get into that.
Yeah, no, I mean, you guys both, it sounds like people in our kind of age group, that's the era where we became like aware of how great sports were. And we just happened to be in an area where our sports teams were great in that era, right? So, I mean, I remember maybe 2001, might have been 2002. Even the Red Wings were awesome back then, right? Steve Yzerman, Shanahan, Hull, Dominic Hasek, all those guys. And then the one memory that sticks out to me, I think it was 2005. The All-Star game for MLB came to Detroit, and my dad somehow got tickets to the Home Run Derby. So we like went to the Home Run Derby, and we had like a couple pictures of like the scoreboard from like when Pudge was up to bat, and like when Big Papi was up to bat and stuff like that. Just that whole era of sports for me really means a lot. And when I think back to those times, I'm like, damn, man, I love this. And then the other one would be in Jack's apartment watching Jordan Lewis get that highlight pick.
Oh yeah, dude. What I thought you were gonna bring up was possibly the Tigers. I think it was 2006, but I remember exactly where I was when Maglio Ordonez hit that walk off to send us to the World Series. I was over at my buddy's house. Do you remember Matt Graisley, Kalen?
Yeah. Yep.
I was over at his house. I think it was him and Peyton Carlson. We were just like hanging out. One of them was watching the game, and I remember Maglio, I think, hit 2 deep foul balls that he thought were going to be the walk-off home run before. And the third time when he actually finally did it, we're like, yeah, whatever. You said that last time. And then we see him rounding the bases, and we watch a replay, and I'm like, I will never forget where I was at that moment.
That's awesome.
I do feel like we were blessed, honestly, with Detroit sports, especially with looking at where they're at now. Like growing up, the Pistons and the Red Wings. I mean, the Red Wings were always good, right? The Pistons were unbelievable. Outside of the Lions, I mean, Barry Sanders, but like the Lions were probably the downer. Yeah. And then the Red Wing or the Tigers, I mean, really took off, probably like you said, 2006 was really when it happened. I remember though, even when they were terrible, we like, I think I went to a game the year they lost 119 games, and I went to one game, and that one game, Brandon Inge hit a walk-off grand slam, and I was like, what are the chances? This is the greatest day of my life.
Who was?
So I think.
Or I was gonna say, who was your guys' Tiger? Brandon Inge. That was my guy. I love
Brandon Inge. Yes, 100% Brandon Inge guy. I mean, Pudge too. I was always number 7 for Pudge, but before Pudge came along, Brandon Inge was the man.
Yeah, I was a Curtis Granderson guy. That was my guy.
Oh, Grandy, the Grandy man.
Yeah.
Yeah. God.
All right. Well, let's move on to our next topic. Now that we're all bathed in nostalgia. Okay. Second down. On the Dan Patrick Show, a caller came in and he was reporting some illegal recruiting practices in the SEC, I believe. Ro, maybe you have a better summary than I do here. Can you walk us through some of this?
Yeah, so if you haven't seen the clip, I would go check out Dan Patrick Show on either YouTube or they also tweeted this clip, but it's a 5-minute clip of an anonymous caller really that called in, and he says that he is a former SEC punter, and he was just kind of giving some insight on he didn't say when it happened, but he sounded a little bit older, so I think it was happening a decent amount of time ago, but he was just kind of giving some insight on what really goes on behind the scenes with recruiting and with money and trying to bribe these kids to come to schools. And as a punter, he even said that he was gifted a Tahoe to go to where he went. He didn't reveal where he went to school, but he said, even as a punter, I was given a Tahoe. And he said he didn't take it. I would say that too if I was on the radio. But he was saying that. He said the even like women's basketball teams were getting money to go to schools. And the big thing that really stood out to me was how he said that these agents and the coaches classified teams was instead of it being like a 5-star recruit or a 4-star recruit, he said it was 2 numbers. The first one was how many people in this person's either family or crew need to get paid and how much is it going to cost. So if the person has, you're paying mom, dad, and the kid, then it's a 3. The first number is a 3. And then the second number, if it's $100,000, it's 100. So if a kid is, like I just said, it's a 3-100 kid. So that was really interesting to me how it's classified by these agents and by whoever else, boosters, all that stuff. So yeah, I don't know what you guys want to make of this or what you think, because I think we all kind of knew a lot of this stuff happens, but some of the details are interesting here.
Yeah, I when I heard the 3, I think they quoted it or they said it on there as like a 370 guy or a 5-100 guy or whatever it was. I thought that was hilarious. I'm like, that's an amazing way to classify it. But the even better part was when the guy who called in, who said he was a former punter, before he revealed that he was a punter, he said he got a Tahoe, and then he was like, yeah, but it was like a used Tahoe. And he's like, yeah, I was a punter. And then everybody's like, oh, okay, that's why you got a used Tahoe. But still, like, these kids are getting stuff from these boosters. I mean, that's just incredible.
So is that how they classify the schools or the recruits? Those 2 numbers.
So like the recruit.
Okay.
Yeah. So like, Let's say somebody's recruiting you to play, to kick at Tennessee. I think that's where the school was. It'd be like, all right, Kalen's a 370 guy. We got to take care of his dad, his mom, and then Kalen. And then basically the total payout would be $70,000.
Okay. Oof. This is maybe I'm kind of going off the rails here a little bit, but with guys like Rochon Gary saying that schools offered him $300K, what do you think his numbers would be?
I mean, what he had I can't remember who was all would be in that group, but I mean, I'm sure he was in 6 figures. Had to be. He was the number 1 recruit, right? Like,
yeah. Well, he turned down $300K, so it makes me go like, woof. What was that second number?
Oof, I would love to know.
Well, that's the thing is like with him saying that, and he's like, I think he outed Clemson. I think it was when he said that. He said Clemson offered me $300K. Okay, you out Clemson, but you're not going to just turn $300K down to go to Michigan for free. And I know we all want to think that Michigan's clean and everything like that, but I'm not going to make any speculations, but I think you can put 2 and 2 together there.
Well, that's an interesting story. Make of it what you will, I guess. That's oof. But we will move on from there. Third down here. Should Nico Collins wear number 1? My vote, hell yeah. Any dissenters in here?
No, I don't. I'm with you, man. He is by far the best receiver. He's been the best receiver the past 2. Well, last year, maybe the year before. But we always knew he was a stud. I mean, he looks like, I think Roe commented on our post we threw up on Instagram with the edit that Brandon Brown put together of Nico with that number 1 on his jersey. He just looks like a Michigan wide receiver that would wear number 1. He's earned it. Give it to him. Let's keep going with this legacy of that number 1 jersey and the great wide receivers being able to don that on the field. I'm all for it, man. I am all for it. It'll get people excited. First game of the season, you see Nico come out with the number 1 on his jersey. The crowd would go insane.
Yeah, the biggest thing is the look. You have to have the look of the Braylon Edwards. Those guys are big dudes. They're big, tall receivers. Devin Funchess even. These guys are. It's a certain look for it. But the thing that stands out to me about wearing the number 1 that Nico has, he doesn't drop the ball. I think it was 2018 where he didn't have a drop pass all year. And then I think last year he maybe had a handful of drops. That's one thing that is required, as far as I know, is to be able to wear the number 1. I remember growing up, and this is maybe a rumor, maybe not, but people always said, like, if you drop the pass in Michigan football practice, you have to run a mile, something like that. Like, I don't know, who knows if that's a real thing, but like, I think it's kind of the mantra around that number 1 jersey. And so he's got it. He's going to be our best receiver now for sure. With Tariq Black and Donovan Peoples-Jones gone. He was our number 1 receiver last year and probably the year before as well too. But I think that he's earned it now, especially he's in his 3rd year, I believe. 4th year?
4th.
Oh, is his 4th? Was he a red shirt?
I think he's a 4th, right?
3rd or 4th year, yeah.
Because last year was DPJ's 3rd year, right?
Right, that's true. Yep.
And they were the same class.
Yeah, you're right. So that's the other thing is you have to stay for a while to earn that jersey. I honestly wish he would have gotten it last year. I think he earned it in 2018 and he should have had it last year because when I see a number 1, I want to have it. I want that to be their sole number that you kind of see all the time. And so especially even number 4 to number 1, it's an easy transition too, right? Like I do think he wears the number 4 well too, but I think the number 1 would be sweet on him, especially with maybe a stud quarterback throwing to him.
Joe Milton?
Whoa, wait, what? I don't know.
I just wanted to say it before it came out of your mouth, I assume that's where you were headed with that.
I was going to say that. Thank you for leading me that way, Jack.
You're welcome. I want to take care of you any way I can.
Well, whoever's throwing to Nico, they're going to know him because they're throwing to number 1. That's the bottom line. Moving on here, 4th down. I read a story about a restaurant in Dayton, Ohio called Urban's Pint House. And it is Urban Meyer's restaurant. And inside the restaurant is all of his achievements. There's pictures of him with Tim Tebow. There's pictures of him with Ohio State. And of course, it's Urban Meyer, and he can't let a chance slip by. So he's got a whole bunch of anti-Michigan stuff in there, right? 7-0, the score of his last game versus Michigan, all kinds of stuff. All the M's are blacked out on the menus. But that does bring an interesting question here. What should Harbaugh's restaurant be called?
God, that's so tough. I can only think of negative names. As much as I love Harbaugh, because I mean, it's because we're talking about Urban Meyer, he's got their 7-0 room, right? Like when I think of that, I'm like, I mean, it could be 0-7. I mean, that's awful, right? But I don't know, man. I think it would have to be. I can't even remember what I thought of earlier, bro. If you've got a name, man, go for it. I'm lost here.
Well, I think that I'm not sure if Harbaugh's restaurant would be quite as popular as Urban Meyer's restaurant in Columbus. Yeah, it would almost be a mockery, right? As far as as even as good as Harbaugh really is, and we know that he's a great coach, but just with what's going on with Ohio State, I mean, all I can think about is what is Urban Meyer's name? What is the name of it?
It's called Urban's Pint House.
Urban's Pint House. I feel like he could have came up with a better name too. He could have been like Urban Meyer's fuck Jim Harbaugh Pint House or something like that.
Well, I guess some place that already has some restaurants reached out to him and they did a crossover restaurant, right? So
gotcha.
I don't know. Jim Harbaugh, he's just gonna serve big porterhouse steaks and ice cold glasses of milk.
Whole milk.
I mean, all I've got is Harbaugh's Hut. Harbaugh. I don't know.
Harbaugh's Barbaugh.
How sad is this that we can't even think of a name for his restaurant? I mean, I'm lost.
Everything, like you said, is all I can think of is negative things. I don't know, man.
I call it Pizza House.
Be an easy transition there. But dude, I gotta give credit to Ohio State, man. If I was an Ohio State fan, I would go there constantly. They've got the M's blocked off. They just embrace the rivalry and the hatred that they have for Michigan. And man, I guess we've talked about it before. I wish we did that here. I would love it.
You are 100% right. They have embraced. This is the epitome of fully embracing the rivalry because you have nothing else and you live in Ohio. So they just this is where all their energy goes, right? But I also see that and I'm like, oh man, I feel that same level of hatred.
Right. Well, so here's the thing. What I equate to that is the Bengals and the Browns have been so bad for so long. This is all they have, right? Is Ohio State football. But we're at the point, the Lions are bad, the Pistons are bad, the Tigers are bad, the Red Wings are bad. Can we all hate on Ohio State now? Can we move all that effort away from those professional teams towards Ohio State? Even Michigan State fans, come on board, man. Let's go. We honestly, Michigan and Michigan State fans need to stop hating on each other at this point and just let's all shift our hate to Ohio State because it's obviously not we've been beating up on each other for the last few years, but Ohio State's the one that wins the Big Ten every freaking year. Let's move something towards them. But also with Mel Tucker, I don't know if they're going to actually help us out much at all. So
yeah, I don't know about
that. That was a ricochet shot at MSU, but that's okay.
Well, we got to end on a high note, right? We got to talk about the rival we can actually beat.
Exactly. And I actually, you know what? I have a hot take here.
Save it. You want to save it?
Or save it for 0 to 90?
Yeah, up to you. You can waste it now if you want. If you've got another one back up ready to go.
I've got two. I feel like this almost should just be more of a topic because I don't think I can. The big thing is I don't think I can fit it in with 30 seconds. And if you guys cut me off at 30 seconds, I'll be so pissed.
Just keep talking. Keep talking. Fuck you guys.
I mean, I rambled.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
Now I'm curious. Yeah.
All right, here we go. If Tom Izzo, if his name was Jim Harbaugh, he would be absolutely shit on by everybody. He has one national championship in 26 years. Think about that. Even if Jim Harbaugh wins a national championship in 10 years, they'll say, wow, you still couldn't beat Ohio State. Whatever, Tom Izzo, I know he's got a lot of Final Fours. I know he has a lot of Big Ten championships. But how is he only squeaked out with the talent that he's had? How has he only squeaked out one national championship? Only 2 national championship appearances. So he's got something like 10 Final Four appearances, hasn't even gotten past that other than 2 times. So I think that Tom Izzo, and I actually respect Izzo because I think he's a good coach, but I think that he deserves more hate than he should because I don't know why Michigan's coaches get more shit than he does.
I gotta defend Izzo here, and I hate it.
Oh my God.
He did win a national title within his first 5 years. He did. And in basketball, you don't see things like what Alabama and Clemson are doing every year. There's basically a different team in the national championship Final Four every single year. So I think because it's basketball, I think that's a big reason. And yeah, like he's known for getting to Final Fours, which essentially is like the playoff. It's the Final Four teams. So I honestly hate myself so much for saying this, but that's got to be why. But he has shit the bed with some very good teams.
I mean, I actually am going against exactly what I said last week, because last week I literally said that we can measure success in college basketball for JaJuan Howard and John Beilein by Final Fours and not national championships. So I understand I'm hypocritical there. But all I'm saying is, okay, think about it. If Jim Harbaugh went to, can we look it up? What's he how many times has Izzo been to the Final Four? Because if Jim Harbaugh went to the college football playoff 10 plus times, I know he's not going to be here for 26 years, but 10 plus times over his career in 20 years and never made it to the national championship or only won the national championship once, he would get absolutely shit on all the time. So why doesn't Izzo? That's my question.
And there's hype. I feel like it's the hype too. Harbaugh was so hyped coming in, where Izzo, I don't know if he was hyped back then because I could barely talk. But I guess it looks like he had 3 straight Final Four appearances from 99 to 2001. So that would have been his 4th season, his 2nd appearance. He won the title. He got back to the national championship in 2009. I don't know, man. I think it's apples to oranges here.
Yeah, it's a bit of a difficult comparison. You're kind of leaping across sports here, but I appreciate the hate.
Eight times. 8 times Final Four.
I think it's 10, but all right.
Is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is coming from Wikipedia.
Sorry, you're right. 8 times.
10-time Big Ten regular season champs.
I'm just saying, like, I know that is he's got his accomplishments, and I know I'm on an island here. That's all right.
Stranded on the island.
You are on an island. You're on an island with a bucket full of balls in a race car bed. Get out of here.
What a line. What a line. Oh. All right, I'm done with my hot takes, but you know what? I'm going to keep up my anti-Tom Izzo takes because you know what he did do? He lost to JaJuan Howard in year 1 when JaJuan Howard wasn't even a head coach for 6 months. And Izzo is apparently a Hall of Fame guy. JaJuan Howard, they're going to shit on JaJuan Howard. Shove it. Everyone can shove it.
Let's leave on that high note. I like that.
Passion. I love it. And you know what? He's bringing the passion at the perfect time. We're going to move on to 0 to 90. Ro, are you seething right now?
I'm fired up.
Let's go. Oh, man.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, let me get the stopwatch out here. Oh.
I'm going to switch sports. I'm going to switch back to sports, but here we go.
All right. Your 0 to 90 starts now.
All right. Back to football. Cam McGrone and Aiden Hutchinson will be the 2 best players on the defensive side of the ball in the entire Big Ten. We are going to have a stud defense here, and those 2 guys are going to lead the whole team. It's going to be a Chase Winovich and Devin Bush type of duo.
Good. That's a good take.
Fire me up. Fire me up. I love it.
No disagreements here.
Come on now. Come on. Give me some Dom Brown hype. Give me him. I think Cam McGrone's going to be that guy. Aiden Hutchinson's already proved it. Come on now.
Yeah, just play that clip right now of Don Brown shouting in that Florida game.
They've got to feel you.
Oh God. Goosebumps.
Right.
I need to set that as my alarm in the morning.
I'm campaigning. I'm campaigning to the people I know to have that played over the loudspeakers in Michigan Stadium next year. So if you hear it, I mean, all credit goes to me. I just want to let you know that right now.
I also just thought of a retail idea. We got to get shirts and a hat made of like an outline. It's like Don Brown's mustache and then his Michigan hat, just like with that logo.
They have to, it says they have to feel you. I love it.
Oh God.
All right.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Now that we're going to be millionaires, what do you guys want to do with our money?
Yeah, that's a good question. Next episode we'll figure out what island we're buying.
Dude, I'm buying the fireworks for Michigan Stadium.
Yes.
Oh.
There we go. I love it.
Check out the article at blueby90.com. Anyway.
All right, Keelan.
All right,
ready.
Jack, your 0 to 90 starts now.
All right, we've heard a lot about breakout players for this coming season. We've heard Giles Jackson. We've heard Dax Hill. You know what? I put something up on our story today. Luigi Villain, your boy, Kalen. He will be a breakout defensive star next season.
Oh, man, I love that take. Best name on the team. The guy was a borderline 5-star. He just couldn't stay healthy in his legs, but, man, I hope this year.
Dude, honestly, you know what I was thinking? I was watching that tape that what was the name of it? It was like Detroit Sports Today or something. Put that up, and I was watching him run a little bit, and I was like, he might look nice at tight end. You know, I think he'll be a great defensive end. I think he'll be great on the line, but if it doesn't work out, you know, switch him over to the offensive side of the ball. See what happens. He looks good, man. He's quick. He looks athletic. I think he could be a good asset there.
That's an interesting take. I like it. That's getting creative.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like our defensive side of the ball is going to be pretty damn good.
We got a lot of talent there. Vincent Gray, another guy, man. He's a stud.
Keep it rolling. Keep it
All right.
rolling.
All right, Kalen. I actually have a timer today, so are you ready?
Okay. I'm going to preface this one by saying if you're an OG listener, you will remember Nate talking about this a little bit, but I think I can give it a better spin.
All right. Kalen, your 0 to 90 starts now.
Okay, there's a team in Germany called Borussia Dortmund in the Bundesliga soccer club. They have what's called the Yellow Wall, and it is just a constant barrage of fan enthusiasm. We need that at Michigan, but it's the Maze Wall. It's literally people just standing there shouting the entire game. They like have huge murals that they like throw up over the whole crowd. This is like absolutely insane. Ro, I hope you put a clip of these guys over me talking.
Oh, I didn't want to cut you off. You're good. You made it. I was probably gonna let you go. It got me a little excited.
I love it though.
That's great.
If you have not seen these guys, then this just sounds like whatever. But if you are watching a clip of this, it is unbelievable. This crowd is so loud, and like players don't want to play there because the crowd is so into it, and it's like so fun for the crowd. Oh my gosh, dude. I'm like excited thinking about doing this at Michigan Stadium.
Honestly, you know what that kind of made me think of? You know how Penn State has like when you do the whiteout, they've got like the blue S in there or whatever. Picture this. We do a maze out. Everybody but the student section is wearing maize. The student section they're wearing all blue except for the maize M in there. How fucking cool would that look?
I mean, that's amazing. I think they've
because we always just see a mishmash of colors when it's in there. It's awful.
It's so true. So true. They have done. I think they've tried to do an M in the student section, but it never looks that great. But still, I'm all in on the Maze Wall here. All in.
Yeah, Maze Wall.
Just put
you
them
don't want to come here.
Put them at each end zone. How great would
Also,
that be?
If there was a president of the Make the Big House Loud Again fan club, it's Kalen here.
He's got the best ideas.
That was part 3. I forgot to say it. Damn it. All right, you guys got anything else?
I'm good.
I'm all out of hot takes here.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. You can check us out at Blue by 90 on Instagram and Twitter, and at Blue by 90 podcast on YouTube.